Hey guys, it's Coach Harry here, and today we're going to be answering a question from a guy who picked up a woman at a sandwich shop that she works at and has been trying to get her to go out with him for the last few weeks by way of texting, and it hasn't been happening, so he ended up blowing up her emotionally. And I want to read this because it gives a great example of why it is that texting kills attraction, but also to show how this guy's game was so off. Because the whole idea of cold approaching a woman and asking her out in public and getting her information, I mean, he did a great job of that here, but in terms of how he actually communicated afterwards in order to try to get a date with her or to connect with her, all falls apart. And I've seen so many guys make this mistake, and I don't want you to be one of those guys. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So he says he's 31 and this woman's 37. He says, I have known this woman for around 5+ years. Oh God, so it shouldn't take this long to ask a woman out. If you're seeing a woman at her place of work on a consistent basis, after like the first 2 or 3 months, you should be shooting your shot. 5 years down the line, you can still do it, but you really want to get in as early as possible upon first meeting a woman, okay? The earlier in the process of meeting a woman that you can ask her out, the better it is and the more likely is that she's going to say yes, versus if you wait a long time and now she has an established idea of you and then you ask her out, that's usually not the best way to go about it. But anyway, he says, when I say known, not really. It's just she works at a well-known sandwich shop that I use for my dinner/lunch pretty much every day unless they are closed. So for 5 years, he's been going to this place, hasn't asked her out. 5 years. It's a long time. He says, I've kind of liked her for a while, but never really gave it much thought asking her out or for her number. 4 weeks ago, I decided to take the plunge and do it. Basically, went into the shop at closing and said, listen, hey, you fancy hanging out sometime out of work? Her reply was instantly yeah, sure, and proceeded to give me her number. So I will say, of all the things in this message, he played that perfectly. He went up to her and said, hey, I would have probably said, hey, I think you're cute or whatever, and I'd love to take you out sometime. Let me get your number. But either way, he was able to get the number. She apparently sounded enthusiastic upon giving it to him. And so this part was done perfectly. And you guys can learn from this. Again, you only lose out on the shots that you don't take. And so you could err on the side of either, being too nervous to ask a woman out and you never get the rejection, or you could ask her out and risk either getting rejection or getting acceptance and getting her to give you the number. All right. So shoot that shot. And now the downhill. He says, texting has been somewhat difficult, mostly 1 to 2 word replies, not very engaging with the conversation, and won't talk on the phone because it isn't comfortable. What do you think I'm about to say? Texting kills attraction. How many shows have I done where I say that you get a woman's number and the purpose of the phone is to set up a date? That is it. You do not try to build rapport on the phone. Now, this guy's probably thinking, I got her number in the coffee shop, but she doesn't really know me, so I need to build rapport with her over the phone to get her to agree to a date. The problem is she already said that she'd be down for a date. So at the point that he got the number, the next time he had contact with her should have been to text or call her to ask for a date. You hit her up. If you call her up, you say, hey, what's going on? This is so-and-so. Oh, hi, so-and-so. Yeah, great. So, I'm busy. I got things I'm doing right now. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm thinking that me and you need to, meet up. Let's go to a restaurant. I'm free on this day and this day, whichever works for you. Boom. Date set up. Took less than 2 minutes. And the date, I've literally set up dates with women, calling them up, where it takes me less than like 30 seconds to say, hey, what's going on? Real quick. Are you free this day? Great, let's do this thing. Have a nice day. Boom. If you're doing it by way of text, same thing. Hey, thanks for giving me your number. By the way, I saw this thing I want to do. Want to see if you're free this day or this day, let me know. Boom, you're done. It can be like a 3-sentence paragraph and you've asked for the date and then you just wait for her. But what most of you guys are doing, you get the number, you think, oh good, I got a number. But I can't ask for the date yet because I got to make sure that she's comfortable with me. I got to make sure that we establish some kind of connection, and I got to build a rapport with her. So I'm going to get on the phone and just text. And you text these women out of a date because all the stuff you're texting to her, you could be communicating with her on a date. So focus on getting the date. Do not focus on trying to have a texting marathon with a woman, okay? If she's giving you the number, on some level what she's saying is, I'm already kind of comfortable with you and I'm cool meeting up with you in public around other people, which is totally safe and fine, all right? Continuing, he says, around the start of week 3, so now he's been texting her nonstop for 3 weeks. Good Lord, dude. She sent me this long worded essay text stating how she's never dated a guy ever. At 37, that's a huge flag. It's not the worst flag, but that's kind of a huge flag. She's never dated a guy ever and has just solely been on her own, independent, to stop unnecessary heartbreak. But how is that possible that she'd know what heartbreak felt like if she's never dated before? So this is basically sounding like a lie. But anyway, she says, and that I was the first person she's ever told this. So guys, look at this. I think women are very well-meaning, and I think they are oftentimes very aware of how men are gonna take certain things. So sometimes they'll tell us things like, you're the only person I've ever told this to, because they think that that's what we wanna hear in order to be in their good graces. That does not mean that it's always true. So I go by the side of, if a woman tells me, this is the first time I've ever done this thing, or you're the only person, blah, 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 I take it as complimentary that she wants to keep me in her good graces, but I do not just blindly believe that stuff, okay? I don't have any physical evidence of proof, so I'm going on her word. And you know what? If she wants to lie about, I'm her first time ever doing anything ever, it's not gonna hurt me in the long run, so I do not care, but just know that, take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, he says, I kind of had an idea this was the case just from her personality and other things I had noticed, whatever. I've asked her around once a week in these 4 weeks to meet up for coffee, go out to dinner, shopping. Why are you asking a girl to go shopping? That should not be a thing that's on the list at all for dates, etc. But each time either she has plans or just isn't comfortable with the idea because she's not ready and needs me to be patient. So what she's telling you is that she's not really interested. Yes, she gave you the number at the restaurant because maybe she didn't know how to say no to you and wanted to be polite. But women that like you, or at least women that want to find out more about you, are going to find reasons to hang out with you. A woman that wants to get to know you, if you ask her on a date and she can't make it, will say, hey, I can't make it, but what about this day instead? Or, oh, I'm sorry, something came up last minute, but let's reschedule. So if you're asking her out, she's saying, oh, I can't make it. Oh, something came up. But the next thing out of her mouth is not, but I can do it some other time. Then that means she's not interested. And that's good for you to know, because that means that now you don't have to hit up women and be emotional. Well, you said you go out with me and this is like the 3rd time and some things just keep coming up. Again, women that like you, help you. Women that don't, won't. So if you ask her out and she says she can go and then she flakes and can't make it and she of her own accord does not bring up the idea of rescheduling, it's because she's not interested. Continuing, he says, last night we were texting and I was just getting kind of annoyed at her no effort replies and tried to lighten it up with 30 jokey texts, which made her take even longer to reply. Again, guys, this is why you do not try to build rapport over text. Save your jokes and save your rapport for when you get a date, okay? That's when she deserves to get the flirty, jokey side of you, not on these texts when she's not even responding to say yes to a date, all right? Continuing, he says, I got pissed off and kind of emotional and ended up telling her I was done wasting my time and I was sick of making all the effort. So dudes, let me ask you a question. When a woman is not doing something that you want her to do, whether it's responding to you through a text or showing up to dates, do you think that getting an attitude with her and being emotional around her is going to make her want to change her mind? Do you think that getting overly emotional is going to make her think, you know what? He's getting really emotional, which means I must be hurting his feelings. You know what? I don't want to be that way, so I'm going to be nice to him and say yes to this date and actually show up. When in the history of mandom has that ever freaking happened? It never happens. Why? Because again, women that like you help you. If they don't, they're going to find every reason in the book to not ever hang out with you. That's all you need to know, is that women that like you will find a reason to date you and go out with you, and women that don't will not. And it's hard for the male ego to understand that or want to take it as truth because we think we're so great. And so when we ask a woman out and she says yes, we assume that she wants to stick to her word because we're so great. And when they don't, our ego messes with us and says, but we're so great. So of course she's not flaking on us on purpose because she should be us because we're so great. And guy, I'm here to tell you, as great as you think you are, that does not mean that every woman thinks that, and it does not mean that women will not occasionally at times flake out on you because they've changed their mind about how great of a guy they thought you were, okay? So you gotta take it at face value. If a woman is not showing up, it means she's not interested. Very simple, actually, okay? But it's hard for our brains to process that. So just learn that that's part of the process, that when you ask women out and they flake or ghost you, it means that they've changed their mind. Women oftentimes are trying to be very nice and not cause any kind of combative situation with you. So they might just ghost or they might just keep talking to you but not ever show up, okay? Take it as is, which is if she's not next to you on a date, it's because she doesn't want to be there, all right? So then he says, I think my last text was something like, you give up time and make effort for people you care about. Seems you're not ready for anything like this. So let's just end it here. Goodbye. Oh yeah, that's really the masculine way, the strong, centered, emotional guy way of communicating that you're displeased. Dude, none of what this guy said is gonna help this woman change her mind about him and wanna go out. That's just facts, okay? So again, you can't get mad if a woman's saying, well, I'm not sure this is the right time and I just kind of feel, my response would have been like, okay, well, when you change your mind, let me know. That's the end of the story. And then next time if I go into the shop and get some food and I see her there, hey, what's up? Act like nothing happened. She comes up to me, hey, so I just want to say I'm sorry again for blah, 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 blah. Hey, you know what? Everybody does their thing in their own time. If you're not ready, you're not ready. I mean, you're missing out on a fun guy like me. I don't understand that decision, but hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do. And hey, no harm, no foul. Boom. That reaction would probably get more of a positive response and make her rethink about how much pressure is actually being applied to the situation. Because I'm like, I don't care. If you want to go out with me, great. If you don't want to go out with me, great, because it just means I can find somebody else. Either way, I'm not going to be pressed about this situation. But so many guys apply all this pressure to women to make things happen that's what usually causes them to want to head for the hills or become disinterested, okay? You got to be a low pressure guy. There are so many women out there. There are so many options, and you have to have in your head that those options are available to you. So that way you won't be obsessing over the one option that doesn't want you, all right? Continuing, he says, the message you just said, which now thinking about it, maybe it was immature and harsh. It was. But it's just because I like this woman a lot, and her saying yes at the start was the most amazing feeling. Yeah, but people change their minds all the time. And so how she felt about you in the beginning on day one might not feel the same to her on day 3, especially if you've been texting her nonstop for 3 days, okay? But women are apt to change their minds. They are in their right to do that. So a woman, and this is the problem a lot of guys have, is they feel like, well, she said she liked me 2 days ago. Why didn't she like me today? Feelings are always changing. And so be prepared for that also. In the dating world, you might have a woman that feels nothing but the world for you for the first month, and then suddenly she just changes their mind. Another guy comes along in the picture, she finds out something out about you that she realizes she doesn't really like, or she just decides she wants to be single for whatever reason, and now she's not feeling those same things. And that can happen at any time. So being in the dating game, you gotta go in knowing that this can happen, but not let it emotionally affect you when it does. Because think about this. This guy's butt hurt over a woman he's known for 5 years, quote unquote, but has talked to for all of 3 weeks. So, and he's 31. So in the grand scheme of his life, he talked to this woman for 3 weeks and is now obsessed and mad to the point that he wants to basically fuss her out on text. 3 weeks. Not a lot of time to know somebody. It'd be different if they'd been together for a year and a half and then she started acting wishy-washy. I wouldn't still react like this, but at least there'd be an understandable reason behind it. 3 weeks? It's not enough time, but it is enough time for her to see how you're reacting to her and for her to make assessments about how you'd be should she do something that's displeasing to you in the future and decide that she doesn't want to have anything to do with you, which is why you have to learn to be more emotionally stable. Of the two sexes, sorry to say this is true, but women can get away with being more emotionally volatile than men can because women in part are looking at us to be the rock. If you're not being the rock, not Dwayne Johnson, but the rock that she can rely on should, the storm come about, then you're not going to be the guy that she chooses long term. This is not to say you can't have emotions, but it is saying to learn to let more things be less affecting to your emotions, okay? It's so much healthier in the long run. Continuing, he says, but to not progress to anything in 4 weeks is kind of depressing. I tell you guys all the time, women on average take 2 to 3 months to solidify their feelings. If by week 3 or 4 she's not there yet, that is completely normal. We're the ones that get taken aback after like 2 weeks and are ready to like darn near wife them up. But for relationship things, you gotta wait until she starts coming to you expressing that she'd like a relationship. Until that happens, you going in with your emotions and your feelings is only gonna set you back. Continuing, he says, I just don't know if she's wasting my time. Yes, I get she has issues and has no experience with relationships or dating. Probably a lie. But to just keep saying, give me time, be patient. How long realistically can that go on for? Seems like a free get out of situation card playing the I've got issues, I need time card. It's just frustrating because deep down, I feel once she's gotten over the first meeting, maybe she'd open up and come out of her shell more. So here's the reality, guy. This woman, maybe she lost interest. Or, if we're going with your story, where she's never had a relationship, she's never been with anybody before, then maybe it is that she's too inexperienced to be in an actual dating situation, let alone a relationship with you. Like, she could have her own baggage about that. Maybe her parents, she was raised with parents that like, messed her up to where she doesn't know how to trust the guy, or she doesn't know the first thing about how to talk to people or her social skills, or she could have all kinds of anxiety that you don't know about. Either way, all that is resulting in her not going out with you. So you could be in your head thinking, well, if she just went out with me, she'd get past these issues. Dude, you don't know that. She's had these issues for 37 years. What makes you think you're going to change it? If we're going with your version of the story, okay? So it doesn't matter how good of a banter you guys had at the restaurant or how good of a texting time you guys think you had because you really didn't. All that matters is this. When you ask her out, is she showing up and standing next to you? Regardless of why the no is, if the answer is no, then you can't date her. And you have to move on to somebody else. I don't care about, you want to try to make an admission and try to let her see you, how she can trust you and she can be the one that you rely on, that she relies on, and just give her this chance. None of that matters. She is making it difficult to take her out, so you don't take her out. It really is that simple because so many guys will obsess. This guy was obsessed with her for 5 years before he finally asked her out. He could have nipped this in the bud the first 3 months of going there. Hey, you look kind of cute, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I have issues. He would have known about this at 28 or -5. So at 26 with this lady, instead of waiting until 31 to find out that she's still ain't gonna go out with him. So this is why you need to err on the side of asking women out early on when you first meet them. But if they're giving you excuse after excuse, oh, woe is me. Oh, I've never been in a relationship. Oh my God, trauma. All that matters is when you ask her out, is she standing next to you on a date? If not, move the freak on, all right? Hopefully this helps this guy. For the rest of you, if you have any questions you'd like me to answer, you can leave it down in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can write to me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com, all right? Be sure to go to my website for more ebooks, audiobooks, and programs, all designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time, all right? If you want to show monetary support, you can go to my website, click on the tip jar tab, and show your support. Thank you that way, all right? I'm Harry Wilmington, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Introvert Dating Success Podcast. Visit us at introvertdatingsuccess.com for more great tips on attracting women using your natural introvert charm. Oh, yeah.